Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into my official college football week number 10, top 10 best bets, where I go through my 10 favorite plays of the week, beginning with number 10. And I'm going in on Georgia State plus the 5.5 in a home spot against James Madison. This is a very rare situation for Georgia State to host a ranked unbeaten team. And we saw James Madison, 17-point favorites last week, barely skim by. They're overdue for a loss. I think they suffer one against Georgia State. And this Georgia State team is explosive on offense. You can take a look. The FPI has it almost as a pick'em. There's great value right now on Georgia State. Again, James Madison nearly lost last week. They're overdue. I've got them losing outright, and there's good value on the Georgia State in that one. Moving on to number 9, it is Virginia Tech traveling to Louisville. Now, you can see Virginia Tech plus the 10.5. This feels like a letdown game for Louisville. Virginia Tech is coming off an extremely easy home win, a game in which they scored 30 points in the first half. And when you've got a team like Louisville, they're not used to success. They take their foot off the gas, and this is one of those games. So we are going in on a potential upset here with Virginia Tech winning outright. They do have a good enough offense to get it done on the road against a Louisville team. I understand they have one loss. I totally get it, but it seems like a situation where they're more of a pretender. And there's teams like this every single year where you look up and you're like, how are they 7-1? They're 8-1. What if they win out? They might make the playoff. It never happens. Give me an explosive offense, Virginia Tech, to win this game outright and really knock Louisville out of the playoff picture. Moving on to number 8, it is Notre Dame at Clemson. So this game, Notre Dame sitting -3. It's certainly understandable. I know people will look at that and be like, oh, it's crazy. Clemson is 4-4. Notre Dame should be 20-point favorites. Guys, that's not how it works. Clemson has had some extremely unlucky losses. And based on their overall talent, I mean, you could argue that they're just a more talented roster than Notre Dame for sure, and they're also at home. But at some point, I do feel like we have to take the season for what it is, and we have to let Clemson show us who they are, and they've done just that. They're 4-4. They lost to NC State. I understand they probably should have beaten NC State if you look at the advanced numbers based on how successful they were versus NC State. But overall, Notre Dame, they're not going to lose this game and ruin their season. They already have 2 losses. They have an amazing chance right now. If you win this game, you have 2 easy ones after this. You finish 10-2. That's a top 10 ranking right there because one of your losses was to Ohio State. Either way, I'll take Notre Dame. And again, it's a situation where Clemson, it's week in and week out. They've shown us who they are. I understand the analytics. I totally get Clemson being slight underdogs. That's perfectly fine. They're very talented. They've gotten unlucky. But at a certain point, it is what it is. They're just not nearly as good this year as they have been in years past. Moving on to number 7, it is UCLA at Arizona. Love the value here. This is a 10:30 game. The over, not too sure if I trust Arizona to necessarily win this game. I know there's been money that's been bet on UCLA. They opened -1.5. They're sitting now -2.5. But I do love the over. 2 offensive-minded teams. You've got Chip Kelly, a really good offensive coach. Arizona, they've been scoring like crazy recently. They just had a nice upset win over Oregon State, and I would expect to get a very nice 10:30 Pac-12 at night vibe where it's a very high-scoring shootout, and that's a very attractive number for a college game, 52. If it was like 58 or 59, I'd be like, it is what it is, but if you get into any type of shootout, that's an auto lock for an over of just 52. Even something like, 20? No, it wouldn't be that. If it was like 30-27, you would have a very easy over. Moving on to number 6, it is Arizona State at Utah. So this is a noon start time, Mountain Time, and I just love the under. It's going to be cold. Arizona State traveling up. Utah has 0 offense without Cam Rising. They do have a very good defense, especially at home. They should completely shut down a warm weather, bad in general Arizona State offense. I'm actually surprised this over-under isn't into the 30s like a lot of the Big Ten games are. They're being very aggressive with their over-unders when it comes to the Big Ten, but it's like Pac-12. Utah is like Iowa 2.0. They have great defense, especially at home, but they can't score. If you gave me an Iowa game with the over-unders into the 40, I would love the value on the under. That's why I like this one at the under 41.5. Moving on to number 4, it is Ohio State traveling to Rutgers. So I do like the Buckeyes minus the 18.5. At this point, Ohio State, they are what they are. They're a really good defensive team, although I think based on how bad Big Ten offenses are, their numbers are kind of inflated. They're going to get to face another really bad offense. Rutgers is just not a good team. I understand you can say, well, they're 6-2. I think they lost to Michigan 52-7. It took a miracle comeback at home to beat Michigan State in a game they were losing by like 20. They're just not very good when it comes to their record. I think it's really inflated. So I'll take Ohio State, 18.5. You can understand the trepidation with Vegas. You know, normally when Ohio State faces Rutgers, home or away, they're sitting like minus 30. So I'm liking the value, and I was against the Buckeyes last week. I had them not covering the 14.5, and they ended up only winning by 14, and that was kind of aided by a late touchdown by Trevion Henderson. So I like Ohio State. I think they probably get a defensive score somehow. Rutgers cannot throw the ball. If you look at Rutgers' last game, their passing offense, it's just straight up anemic. And I also would say probably the under, but I don't love the under because there are a few scenarios where I could see Ohio State scoring 38. But if you do want to play off the idea that Kyle McCord is injured, I mean, Kyle McCord is already bad enough, let alone if he's injured, he's even going to be worse. You know, you might say Ohio State's offense, maybe they only win 28-7 or 27-7. It's going to be a low-scoring game. I can understand that. But also, this is Rutgers. Ohio State might drop a 40-burger. We will see. Either way, I have them covering. Moving on to number 3, it is Bedlam, Oklahoma at Oklahoma State. I do like Oklahoma State plus the 6. Their running back is possibly entering the Heisman conversation. I also love the over in this game, although Oklahoma's offense has been sputtering a lot recently. Yeah, give me Oklahoma State to win this outright. I know the Vegas and the value. Oh, look at that. Oklahoma, an 81% chance to win. They're only 6-point favorites. That's good value. But guys, Oklahoma's analytics are kind of, wonky right now based on the fact that they really blew out a couple of bad teams and it really overinflated their analytics. So I like Oklahoma State playing well at home against an Oklahoma team. They had that loss to Kansas. They've had other games. The UCF game was really close. Not buying them. I will take in a rivalry game the team with momentum and the value on the plus 6, even if Oklahoma wins this game, by a field goal or something, maybe by 4 points, you still get the wiggle room to cover the 6-point spread. Moving on to number 2, it is Tulane traveling to East Carolina. And if you just take a look at the way Tulane has been trending, I've been off of them the past 2 weeks, and I'm 2-0 against the spread because Tulane is struggling. They are sitting at number 21 right now, but at some point, they will get upset, and I think this is possibly the week. East Carolina, you might be, weirded out. They've got a really bad record. They're like 1-7. But guys, look at this. Tulane, 75% chance to win. The analytics are kind of weary on this game with East Carolina being at home. Tulane 0-2 against the spread since getting ranked. I have that problem continuing. I love the value in East Carolina, plus the 17 in that game. And then number 1, it is Washington at USC. I think the over-under in this game is like 76 or something. It's 73, something like that. I will take USC plus the 4. People are really dismissing Washington and the struggles that they've had. It's crazy to me. They really can't run the ball. They have a very lackluster defense. And this is just typically a game that you would expect Lincoln Riley to win when everyone counts him out. Everyone says he's a terrible coach. He and Caleb Williams come out and they win this game and they shock everyone and everyone's like, oh, USC is back. And to me, Washington is just due for a loss. They've had several games against mediocre Pac-12 competition that they probably should have lost. They probably should have lost to Oregon based on the analytics on that game, the advanced numbers, the fact that Oregon outgained them by 170 yards, but I will take USC, and the numbers back it up, giving them a 54% chance to win. And then we have a few bonus picks here for week number 10. Iowa at Northwestern, the under 31. So very surprised this line opened 29.5 and people actually bet it up. But the context to this game, it's being played at Wrigley Field. And normally when a neutral site game gets played at Wrigley, it's always very low scoring. Add to the fact that Iowa, we know how ridiculously bad they are on offense. They've got a juggernaut defense. We will go in on the under. You just got to keep betting Iowa unders at this point. Next, we do have Kansas at Iowa State, the under 54. So I do find decent value in this play. I understand Iowa State, they've been better on offense, they can throw, but in a home game against the Kansas team dealing with an injured quarterback, I think there's good value in the under. Georgia Tech plus the 2 at Virginia. So just kind of a weird game here. Georgia Tech coming off that crazy upset win against North Carolina on the road against a Virginia team that's playing a lot better, but there is good value in Georgia Tech plus the 2, in my opinion. Illinois at Minnesota. I mean, these Big Ten games, you got to just auto bet the under 42.5 in that one. I'm shocked that over-under is not into the 30s based on how bad Minnesota's offense is. And then SMU at Rice, over 58. Great value there. I'm just happy that over-under is not into the 60s based on how good SMU is on offense. And then with Rice, with JT Daniels, you do have the opportunity, if they get down by a lot, to really get some garbage time points. SMU wins that game like 49-20. You've got a very easy over 58. But guys, that is going to do it for my official college football week number 10, top 10 best bets. Make sure you're following me on X. Link to that's always in the description.